I want to just thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing space with me, allowing me to share your space. I really truly appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Caring Hearts and what we do, and specifically a couple of our programs that we're working on a lot right now. We've been doing a lot of work in putting together what we're calling a toolkit to help families, to help agencies work with families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, looking at it from a perspective, a two-eyed seeing approach, using elder knowledge, elder video, and a Western therapeutic approach. So I'm going to share my screen here with you, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Caring Hearts, and then go directly into talking to you about the toolkit, and actually a gala event that we have coming up here to launch the toolkit on Thursday. So is my presentation up right now? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So here's my contact information. Please, if you think that Caring Hearts or myself can be of any assistance to you or your agency or families you're working with, friends I like to call them. I don't like the word client. I find it's a personal choice. I understand the need for some people to have boundaries. I believe in boundaries, but I don't, I personally think the word client is very institutional, and I don't like it. So you'll be hearing me interchange family and friend a lot. So this is my information. Please reach out if you need any supports or helps, or if you think we can be of any help to you, or if you'd like to book an education session or talk to us about some of the resources we have. Here we are. Oh, why am I? Oh, there we go. So what is Caring Hearts Counseling, Inc.? We're a unique counseling center that specializes in grief, trauma, intergenerational trauma, and supports to families, friends that have lost or suffered significant loss in their life. Our original mandate was death loss, and working with families that have experienced significant death loss. We've since expanded that to include other forms of trauma, and specifically ambiguous loss or missing persons loss. As far as I know, we are the only agency in, I believe, Western Canada that officially hangs their shingles saying we work in ambiguous loss. I do recognize and acknowledge that there are many elders and other counselors that do ambiguous loss work. When I say we're the only one, I mean that officially, if you look in the phone book, or what used to be the phone book, you'll see that we do ambiguous loss work. Some of the others don't quite advertise like that. We come from, in our counseling and our education and everything that we do comes from the idea of empowering the individual or empowering the family, helping them find voice. If you look at the idea of trauma and our traumatic reaction comes from the idea, and the intensity of a traumatic reaction for people comes from how much choice or control did I have, how safe did I feel, how much voice did I have before, during, and after the events. So we look at trying to create safety, trying to create choice, helping them feel that they have voice, and helping them find their voice. Understanding that when you're working with a friend or a family that has suffered significant trauma, we may have to, as a frontline person, may need to be an advocate at the beginning for them, but we do need to be able to transfer that over to where they become their own advocate. There is tremendous healing in advocacy. And when a person is able to find their voice, and we can help them find their voice, that is a huge sign towards their healing. And lots of times they're not only they become not only voices for themselves, but they will become voices for others that have suffered significant traumas in their lives or similar traumas. So we work at that. We work at coming from that perspective. We also look at education and training for the frontline people that do the hard work out there every day, like yourselves and your agencies. We provide a variety of education resources to individuals, communities, agencies, frontline professionals, caregivers, family members, volunteers. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we provide down the road as far as education and trainings. We don't have a huge team. We have a good team, but it's not a huge team. There's Shelley Spiedel, who is our executive director, myself, We have our clinicians that work with us under contract. They come from, there's Susan, who's a Western therapeutic counselor. She's a registered social worker and comes from that perspective. There's Stacy, who comes from more of a holistic health and wellness perspective. And then there's Roseanne, who is Métis and comes, and she actually has her, as she says, she walks in both worlds and comes from both perspectives in the work she does, the Western therapeutic and the traditional work. We're very, very fortunate to have 2 elders or knowledge keepers, or as Elder Harry will sometimes say, old ones, who work with us and provide healing and knowledge and assistance and guidance. Elder Lorna Standing Ready, originally from Pipikis First Nation, and Harry Francis from Piapot First Nation. And then we have numerous volunteers that provide amazing amounts of support to us and help us run our programs. As I said, we work really hard to create a workplace and a center that honors the ideas of ethical space and two-eyed seeing. And one of the things that we've really dived into here is not just the words ethical space and two-eyed seeing. We hopefully don't just have it written into our policy manuals. Because unfortunately, a lot of times that's what ends up happening. These words are written in, they're, you kick the tires on them for a month or 2, and then they're set on the shelf. We work hard every day, and we're not perfect by any means, but we're working hard every day to actually try to live these mottos, to try to live these ideas in the work we do. The idea of ethical space, two-eyed seeing. The idea of respecting that everybody comes with equal knowledge, everybody comes with equality, everybody comes with a purpose and a importance, and we come from that perspective, and that contributes to the idea of removing of those power over relationships that exist in agencies. No matter how hard you try, you will find power over relationship, and we try hard to come from that perspective, and we work really hard to come from the two-eyed seeing approach, looking at how do the Western world and the Western approach and the traditional approach work together, supporting each other to provide the resources and the supports that families need. One of the things I've learned working with elders that has really contributed to me hopefully having more of a two-eyed seeing approach in the work I do is the concept that science likes to believe it's making groundbreaking discoveries. In a lot of the work, especially when you're working with families and individuals, what we consider groundbreaking in the Western world, elders have known for generations. I'll use the example of epigenetics, the idea that trauma can be passed down through your DNA. That's true, it does, it can, it is. We consider that to be newer research. I brought it up one day, the first time I brought it up one day, I brought it up at the elders conference when I was asked to come, and I was honored to be able to attend. They all smiled at me and said, "You're talking about blood memory." Again, I think we just need to respect that idea. And if we're really looking at coming from the concepts, and if we're really leaning into, as a society and as agencies, into the concepts of reconciliation, we need to start adopting the ideas of two-eyed seeing. Referral processes, it's self-referral. You can refer to us yourself. You don't need a doctor's note. Our fees are on a sliding scale. We will try our best to work within the means of the friends that come. If people are coming to work or coming for support is a result of missing persons or missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, we are very, very fortunate to have been able to partner with both the provincial and federal government to receive grants to provide that support. So those counseling sessions would be covered for them. We provide what I call direct service to our friends and families through individual counseling, support groups, elder-led sharing circles. and our Caring Hearts Day camps for youth. Our counseling, we will work with youth, children from the ages 6 years old and up. We provide, like I said, I mentioned specialized counseling services, ambiguous loss counseling services. Our sessions are generally 50 minutes. And as I mentioned, we come from both the Western approach and the First Nations traditional healing approach, with the support of our elders that do that work for us. You can receive support from us through face-to-face sessions, telephone, online, Zoom, WebEx, etc. We do provide all those options for people, which in honesty has allowed us to reach out and reach more people across the province and even to Western Canada now, the telephone and the online. In regards to education resources, we have a wide variety of different available sessions and opportunities for frontline people. We do education sessions, we do webinars, we have webinars online that you can request. We have a number of manuals, a little traditional healing guide that Elder Harry did for us. He did it up, we recorded it. It's very, 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 very useful. And it does, Harry always asks me to mention when I talk about the guide, he asks me to always say it comes from a Southern Cree perspective, because Harry is Southern Cree. So he said he has tried to make it as general as he can, but he said it obviously is influenced by his tradition and culture, which is Southern Cree, or people of four, as he says. We also have our Connexus library, which has a numerous, I think something in the neighborhood of 2,500 books available. So if you ever want to check out a book or a video on anything, come down to the center and you can grab one. Like I said, we have webinars. If you go onto our website, you can find our webinars, our education session outlines, our healing guides, everything like that. Our education sessions, I want to talk a bit about that for you. Generally, these are live sessions. We do online. We have done numerous online now. Quite honestly, those of you that know me will know that I was dragged kicking and screaming into the online world with education sessions. I personally believe the face-to-face interaction is far more effective, especially with the topics I speak about and when we do them as far as trauma, trauma-informed care, ambiguous loss, self-care, and resiliency. But I do recognize the need for the online, and I will admit that it has allowed us to reach out further. There's a list of the things we work with, topics we include and can work on. And the nice thing about what we do is we'll customize the session to meet your needs. So you can mix and match any of these together, and I'll put together a session for you with whatever you like. If you request, one or both of the elders will accompany me, and we will actually talk about our education and the topics from a two-eyed seeing approach. I will speak from the Western perspective. The elders will come in from the traditional perspective, and we'll show how the two approaches will meld together to explain a topic. We can do any sorts of sizes of groups. We've done everything from, well, one is a bit of an exaggeration. That's not really a group, but we've done everything from four people to 200, 250 in a session. Here's a list of our webinars that are available for use. You can go on our website. The webinars, you can, what you do is you contact me, and we would arrange to get you a passcode and a link to the webinar. And depending on how long you want it, if you want it for a month, we'll arrange a price for a month long, and you have access to the webinar for the month, and you can view it as many times as you want through the month. We also have some a yoga webinar on healing. We have some community health and wellness, and a really, really cool webinar series of short videos that Elder Lorna put together around the concepts of sharing circles, the importance of sharing circles, the importance of the feast, the protocols that accompany a sharing circle, the idea of passing the feather in her case that she speaks about, the need to smudge before them. She explains it. She really explains it a lot for those that haven't attended a traditional sharing circle, and she explains the importance of each part of the circle and what the meaning behind it. Our resource guides and manuals, we have trauma-informed care, surviving trauma, practicing self-care and living in wellness, the commitment to resiliency building, supporting families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and all missing persons. How do you manage your life if you have a loved one missing? We also have an adult grief book, children's grief workbooks, and the traditional healing guide we spoke about that are all available for purchase and use. Two very important programs that we've been working on and work we've been doing is our ambiguous loss education and training modules, which we have right now online. And I take those out and work in community with them, with individuals and organizations that want to learn more about that, and that Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Toolkit project. And as I said, the Toolkit project comes from that, and what we're trying to do is come from that idea of creating ethical space. The idea that we need to create a place for knowledge systems to interact, or people to interact, with mutual respect, kindness, generosity, and basic values and principles, recognizing that all the systems or individuals and friends are equal. There's no system or person that carries more weight or legitimacy than another. And that all, again, ties back to the idea of the removal of the power over relationship. Because if we're going to work successfully, and when I say we, I mean the collective we as society and frontline agencies, if we're going to work successfully with families, with friends, we need to be able to create and give them some choice and control back. We need to be able to create safety, and we need to actually really hear them. We need to help them find their voice. And that starts from the removal of a power over relationships. That idea that we are there to help. And so there is a balance, but we have to be able to remove the big power overs. And that comes from the idea of ethical space, two-eyed seeing, the need to be able to cultivate the ethical space through the two-eyed seeing, the practice of learning to use the two systems together, the Western, in this case, the traditional healing, the idea of, is there opportunities to incorporate smudging, ceremonies, feasts, sweat lodges, elders, sharing circles into your agency, into the work you do, into the healing you're helping to provide, into how you're approaching the people you work with? Are there those options? Do you have the opportunity to provide them? So one of the big projects we've been working on is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Toolkit project. And this project is a program that the idea is culturally grounded program that will educate specifically non-Indigenous agencies, governments and ministries on the importance of things such as intergenerational trauma, the issues of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and the need for traditional healing, as well as Western therapeutic, recognizing that Indigenous families are unique as far as there's not a template for one form of cultural healing for all Indigenous people. There's diversity in Indigenous communities, and we need to be able to recognize that. Also recognizing that not all Indigenous people practice traditional healing. So the idea of bringing both those together. The toolkit contains, we got permission from elders to record them. They weren't happy about the idea of recording. They said, if you're going to actually be traditional, there is no recording. But they were willing to do it for the project. So we reached out to elders within Treaty 4 and Treaty 6 areas in Saskatchewan, regions in Saskatchewan, and re-recorded them. And they talked about, what do agencies need? How do you create safety? What do they know that Indigenous families feel when they walk into an agency? Specifically a Caucasian dominated agency for support. What is their perception? Even as hard as we're trying to remove power over, there is still perceptions there. And that's where I talked about earlier, the need to come for us to understand the history, to understand the impacts of colonization, understand the history of what did Europeans or colonizers, how did our contact impact families through the generations? And what are they carrying with them when they're coming into an agency? So this toolkit tries to bring that to the forefront. It tries to bring that knowledge forward and that understanding forward. And it's not the be all and end all of the work. What it hopefully does is it gives some groundwork, and it gives a starting point for agencies that are interested in this, and it spurs more discussion within the agency. It spurs the agency to reach out to elders, to learn more, to start to understand a little bit more. That's our goal of this, of the project. And then we also have our gala coming up here on the 20th of October here in Regina. It's at the Ramada. Dwayne, we're having an education day in the morning from 9 till 4 o'clock. And then we have the gala from, I believe it's 5:30 is the opening till about 8. We're going to have, through the education part, we're going to launch the toolkit. Dwayne Bowers from down in the States, that's worked with us numerous times over the years, is coming up to talk about ambiguous loss, the concepts of ambiguous loss. He, I would argue, is the foremost expert on ambiguous loss in North America. He's going to be speaking about it. Elder Harry is going to be sharing stories and knowledge and healing and the idea of traditional healing through the day. We're going to have an opportunity for agencies to tell us, hey, we've created this toolkit. We're offering this toolkit out to you. What else do you need? What else could we be working on to help put more tools in your toolkits? So that's going to be through the day. And then in the evening, we're going to have our gala, and we're going to have it's a fundraiser for us and such. And we're just going to be honoring Elder Harry and Elder Lorna and sharing stories. There's going to be traditional dancers doing a dance for us. And yeah, we're just going to be doing that sort of work.